Welcome back to this special edition of the Ingram Angle. Now, tonight, we take you inside the radical left's plot to undermine not just the rule of law, but our traditions and our culture, too. The launching point for most of their subversive efforts begins at our universities. And much of their focus is on changing our language, erasing our history, and destroying patriotic symbols, as happened recently at Colorado State University. And that's where a task force's draft of an inclusive language guide deemed words like America and male and female as non-inclusive, offensive terms. Well, I wish I were joking. Now, call this trend anti-American chic. Patriotism on campus is often considered passé and linked to Trump. Trashing the red, white, and blue is considered edgy and courageous. And the new voices on the left have taken it one step further by questioning the very ideals on which this country was founded.
This country was founded on white supremacy, and every single institution and structure that we have in our country still reflects the legacy of slavery and segregation.
The force that has come closest across American history to actually ending America was white supremacy.
We as a nation have not yet truly acknowledged and grappled with racism and white supremacy that has tainted this country's founding.
Joining me now, essayist, columnist, former media mogul who was just pardoned recently by President Trump, Conrad Black. Great to have you on, Conrad. My question to you is, when did academia stop being about, learning and education and start being about indoctrination and anti-Americanism?
I think that to start with, we turned university into a kind of anti-unemployment scheme. And as my friend Jordan Peterson says, anything with studies at the end of it isn't a real subject. And there are astounding numbers of people at great cost to their parents and the taxpayers in these universities studying subjects that aren't real and produce absolutely no possibility of generating an income they can live on. And they're essentially idle people and taught by underqualified and overpaid and underworked faculty. And in that kind of an atmosphere, mischief arises. Now, it happens to coincide, I think, with the collapse of the international left and the political process of atomization. Instead of waving the flag around as is traditional, you get this search for subgroups that are victims, and you encourage them in their victimhood. And it becomes a sort of echo chamber between the media, academia, and the political operators in the Democratic Party, especially in their state of shock after their defeat by Donald Trump, which they never imagined to be a conceivable result. And so we have the results in policy formulations in that party that propose tens of trillions of dollars of reparations essentially for almost all non-whites, open borders for everybody, will legalize infanticide, abortion isn't enough, the sovereignty of the woman, if we can still use that word, over her body now includes fully born and live infants.
Right. So, Conrad, these ideas, though, Conrad, you don't have to be an expert in the university to be knowledgeable about how words and language are manipulated by the new radicals of the 21st century at college campuses. And I just want to read something for you. This is at Brown University, okay, one of our top universities in the United States. It says a history department course. It's called The History of Fascism, okay? What is fascism, both in theory and practice? And it goes on to talk about some of it. Then it says, this course will conclude with considerations of anti-fascism in the post-war world, as well as the legacies of fascism in contemporary far-right politics. Now, you can imagine, Conrad, where that class is going to go, right? Elevating Antifa and linking the efforts to try to stop people like Donald Trump with these ideas of sovereignty and borders and culture and so forth. And this is where the young radicals learn their lessons and learn their marching orders.
Yeah, but you're quite right that you have the deformation of history. I mean, even someone like Cory Booker, who is like reasonably innocuous by the standards of most of these people, is saying that fighting climate change was like landing at Normandy and this kind of thing. They just take iconic things from the past and attach them to nonsense in the present. And it's a sort of intellectual corruption that goes on, but I assume it's in pursuit, in the case of the politicians, the left of the Democrats, to sort of get on side with the trend. But the trend is generated by the same sort of student mentality that Mario Savio and those people, the holy barbarians at the California universities and so on. I mean, you get a bit of anarchy in universities, and up to a point, that's not altogether bad, but it gets completely out of control when there aren't countervailing forces. And I think part of the problem here is the collapse of the morale and the believability and prestige of the traditional bipartisan political elite. I mean, they from another side. So we're getting a sort of a radicalization of the struggle here, the intellectual struggle.
Yeah, and today, Pelosi met with the AOC +3. They're the modern day kind of manifestation of the radical left, and she said basically there's very little difference, very little distance between the two of us on major issues. That's kind of all you need to know, Conrad, about how far left the Democrat Party is getting.
2 weeks ago, she said they only had 5 votes in Congress. Now there's not much difference between them. I mean,
4 votes.
Look, to some degree, the Republicans and the president himself are pushing them into that corner because he knows that the people are with him.
Well, it's smart. Yeah, well, it's very smart of Trump. Conrad, thank you so much. It's great to see you tonight. And also, biographer extraordinaire of Nixon and FDR, real history. And ahead, another tactic of the new radical left, deploying bogus charges of racism to deflect from their own anti-Semitism. We expose what they're up to when we come back.